So we have to do it because it intersects with all of our
Let's just
things.
keep it short.
Sure, since
Because there's
we had a
too
long
much.
intro.
There's so much to talk about.
I know, but
So
don't
point
don't
us-
I hate when you do.
I'm
Don't
not.
sell it short
I'm
and
not-
like
I'm selling
straight
it
out,
long.
straight out the gate.
I'm just saying it's like we could do a whole episode on it, but then also like I feel it's like a combination of so much to talk about and also so many people have talked about it. So
Yeah,
just
but
point
I
me
think it's
point
important
me in the
we
specific
can-
directions you want to go.
Well, really, I just want to know. We're talking about Louis C.K.
Yeah.
and the New York Times breaking the story that sort of we've all heard about. Like,
Yeah.
there was always been rumors that he would force women to watch him masturbate, but it was never substantiated, and he would never talk about them saying it's a rumor. And I don't want to get, but it's been proven true. He said it's true. He gave a non-apology apology, and like, no, I guess I'm just wondering what your thoughts on it are, being a comedian, and how if this influences how you think about him as a person who you admire in your art form.
See, but I think that's straight up where a lot of people go wrong. And I
Also.
think that's what's kind of like always, I feel like these questions, I'm not saying you're doing anything different than a lot of people, so it's not necessarily anything you're doing that's crazy wrong or anything. But I think like a lot of people just start on that foot, which is always weird to me.
Why?
Which is the footing of like, oh, someone you looked up to, someone who was like an inspiration, like any kind of that, or even sometimes people throw around hero, any kind of that stuff. I just don't get it because even with like someone like Cosby, like I liked Cosby. I've cited Cosby as like an influence, but I never looked up to him as a human being. So to me,
You cited his art as an influence.
so that's my point when people talk about separating the art from the artist.
Yeah.
It's like I separate it totally, meaning the inspiration, the enjoyment, like all of it. I've separated already. Like I separate from the start. Like I don't care about what a person does in their personal life, and that's good or bad. Like to me, if they're a good person, it doesn't make me like the art more. Like I would never like art more because someone's a good person either.
Yeah, but this is art so directly tied to their personal experiences.
I just don't think that's true, and I don't know. Maybe when you ask me as a comic, you could say maybe the art's tied to their experience, but I don't even know if that's necessarily
Really?
true. But the point is, I'm still, if you're asking how it affects me, how something like a Cosby affects me as a comic.
No, Louis C.K. in particular.
But either way, but that
because
one,
you really liked him and like.
but I would say Cosby had a bigger sphere of influence over me because I was watching him before I started doing comedy. You know, I watched him at a young age. I think it was even more fundamental. So I'm just saying, I'm talking about Cosby, but you could literally draw the exact same things I'm saying, which is like, it's more so I'm looking at this stuff as a fan. I might be looking at it and like laughing at the content, blah, blah, blah. But there's still like a lot of looking at like
Laughing?
technique and like, you know, like technique and.
Oh, so laughing at not the like misconduct allegations, but the.
No, I'm saying my point is, I'm saying as a fan, I might be laughing at the art.
Okay.
I might be enjoying it viscerally, and you could say that it's attached to the person, but it's just, I mean, I know what it's like to be creative. It's not necessarily. It is what it is, and it's always part of you, but it's also just what it is as art. That's why I said there's just so much to unpack. I guess it's just like, but that's my kind of thing. Is like, if you're looking up to public figures as heroes or as inspirations for your private life,
There's your problem.
there's your fucking problem. If
Who do you
you're
look up
over
to?
if you're over the age of 12 and you have a hero, there's your problem.
Well, no, I don't think people are looking up to him as a hero. It's that he was sort of this bastion of a consciousness in comedy and in liberal spheres, and just I thought he, that's what people liked him
Kind
for, was
of.
talking about this stuff. So to especially when he kind of reminds me of, you're always saying how you don't like men who call themselves feminists. Like,
Yeah.
he kind of was like that,
But he didn't.
like
I
he
don't
would have
think he ever
really
called himself
I
a
know,
feminist.
Justin, but like he had really interesting conversations on his show about his own dealings with women and his own prejudices against women, like the fat episode of Louis. Is it just Louis?
But that's my point. Do you think as a woman that those like, do you disregard them now? Why can't those things exist in a person simultaneously?
Well, yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about this, because I personally think I've like struggled with it a little bit, because I do really like his comedy, and I like his TV shows. I think he's the first to, I don't know, like, again, like that's the episode I always go back to, is that he's on a blind date with a woman who's bigger, and he totally rejects her, and she calls him on it, and they have this really awkward but important discussion about like his prejudices against her being a bigger woman, especially as he's like this dumpy guy, old and bald, right? Like,
no, I know the episode you're talking about, yeah.
Right, but I'm explaining it for anyone who
no,
hasn't
I know.
heard it.
Sorry, I thought you gave me a look like,
no,
like, are you following?
So like I kind of looked at him as like, oh, I love the work you're doing. Thanks for like bringing this stuff to light.
But you just said it. You just said, but real quick, I'm just saying you just said it. The work he's doing. So that's my point. Is like that work. You could still give someone that work. You could still think about that work. That work could still be on TV, and it could still have that positive impact.
Totally.
And he could still go to jail or never work again or whatever you want.
I don't disagree with you, but like what feels like bullshit and like makes me feel icky still, because I mean, you and I have talked about this off air. Like I am still like, well, that doesn't discredit the work he has done in these spheres. Like it's interesting, and like it's sort of like essay writing, you know, where it's like talking about things you're going through in your life. And I don't think that discounts the conversations he has. That what feels so icky is that like he only admitted it and apologized when he had to.
But my point is, it's like, clear he did something. It just feels
like another abuse of power by a powerful man.
Okay, but again, like, again, I'll throw that out. And I know I didn't at the beginning, but I'll throw that out now. It's clear that I thought he did it when I heard about it. So # believe her. It's clear
like 100 years ago.
But
when you heard about it,
I would say when I heard about it as a rumor, I was like, you know, there's synced up rumors. So I would say I'm like 75% believe her.
Mm-hmm.
Once it came out in an official like news source with names, I was like 100% believe her. But then when he admitted it, and then it's just like, now it's fact. It goes from believe her to straight up fact.
Right.
Now. So it happened. We all know it happened. We all kind of knew it happened before. Would you say like your thing is almost similar? Like, did you 100% believe when it was rumors, or were you like, probably?
I know. Well, that's what I've had to face in myself, because it's like I heard about these rumors, I believe them because honestly.
But did you 100%, or were you like 90, 80?
I mean, 100%.
Okay. If I'm 75, am I a bad person, or is that
no? I don't think so. I just know. What women go through, and like that, we all sort of have an experience like that, so it didn't seem off base. And he talks about his weird sexual perversions and like how weird he is. So yeah, I believed it.
Yeah, no. And I guess my point is like, so it happened. We know it happened, and I just think like, it's this thing of like, sorry, we were messing with the mic and I couldn't remember what I was going to say.
It was like falling out.
I know. It's okay.
Am I disturbing you? Do you want
no,
me
it just like,
do you want me to fix it?
I just didn't want to seem like I was just totally dumb. Like to people who had no video of this, just to be like, why is he can't think? I just don't remember what I was saying.
Sorry.
Because I was just looking at you to make sure you didn't need help. So I 75% thought it was true, then 100% now we know it's true. But like, I fucking don't remember what I was going to say. Do you remember what we were talking about?
No.
I'm just way off fucking track.
Well, let me just take the conversation this way. I don't know. I feel like there's a reckoning of these types of situations, and like it's clear that my theory is that all of this is coming to a head because Donald Trump was elected president. We saw him, you know, a 13-year-old was taking him to court for rape. He said he grabs women by the pussy. He still got elected president, and people stood by him for so long. It felt like a direct, like, just middle finger to the face for any woman, any victim ever, right? And so you have these liberal women who are like, no more, no fucking more. I'm going to call out, like, it's easier.
And you had conservative women who are like, we're on board.
We're on board. It was easier to stomach and be passive for about a lot of things when there was a progressive family in the White House for the last 8 years. It was like, you know, all this stuff was happening then, and I think we sort of knew, like, someone needs to say something, but, like, it's changing, and this is how change happens. It's slow. People are pissed, you know? Like, it's like, no, now we're going backward, and, like, these men in power in all spheres, you know, it's bipartisan, are getting away with this stuff. We're going to start calling it out.
I know, but it's still, like you said, like, I still just don't know. I just feel like I said, it's not even to me. I separate art from the artist from the get-go, no matter who it is. Like, I don't wait for something. If you're waiting for something bad to come out and then you're like, can I do this? well, then you shouldn't be you shouldn't do it. Like if you were always admiring someone in conjunction with their art and then something bad comes out, like you should throw out the baby and the bathwater because you bought in wholly. But my point is like, I never buy in wholly to anybody. Like, to me, I just do. I think it's infantile. I think it's a childish thing to think that you should model your life after someone. If anything, like I said, you could be pulling from like career moves or artistic moves, but like
sure, but that doesn't discredit from the fact that these women felt intimidated to say anything because they didn't want to be blackballed in the industry.
Yeah, but that's a different question.
Person.
I'm talking about my point is now, like, the work is done and out there. Why such a just societal kind of move to just like my point is, like, I understand, okay, we're not going to let you do more work because then like either you should go, like, a lot of these people probably should go to jail or at least go to court civilly or something should happen to them. But a lot of times, because of the statute of limitations or because these things are just hard to prove, a lot of times, like, that's not going to happen. So I understand why we take away his Netflix deal and his management. He lost everything. And I understand why, because, like, we have to punish crimes, and sometimes this is the only way to punish crime. So I'm not saying, like, he should be left to make more art.
Okay.
Because regardless of if the art would be good, if it would be meaningful, if it would be powerful, whatever the art would be, the fact is he would be benefiting from it in a way that feels like a reward and not a punishment. So I get the sacrifice of the art for the justice of the punishment for someone that deserves some sort of punishment for the wrong he has done. But my point is, the art that's already been made.
Like the movie that got canceled, you mean?
Anything. I mean, HBO took everything down off HBO On Demand, you know, really? And it seems like his stuff's still up on Netflix. He had, a few specials up on there. So I'm sure you can still find it. But my point is, like you said, you like that Fat Girl episode. It meant something to you. You thought it was cool. You thought it started a conversation. Like,
sure.
Why, the thing is, like, does it change that? It's like, no, because it's like, because my point is, like, but you say it. You say the work. Like, you naturally say the work. And that's my point. Like, when I see an episode like that, I'm like, that's a cool TV show. Again, as an artist, I'm like, that's a cool, interesting way, a funny way to talk about an issue. Whether I talk about that issue or any other issue, that's kind of just like one strategy to talk about an issue that way. I'm like, that's a cool episode, but I'm also like, that's well acted. And like, yeah, even if he did all the other things like write, produce, direct, star, I'm like, he did that well. But as an artist, like, I just never was like, Louis, I never felt, and I'm not saying no one did, like your point about other people feeling that, but I just never felt like Louis C.K. is a feminist and Louis C.K. is saying big things. I was just like, this show, which I guess he's a part of, did a thing in a cool way, but it's still, I just never really.
It was more than just his shows or the work.
I never admired
he released
him.
Tig Notaro's album and catapulted her to fame. Like, it wasn't just like the things
okay, but
he's
again,
talking
why
about.
is that? Why does that why is that now? Not
well, she even said in that New York Times article that she felt like that was him covering his ass. Like, I'm not saying it's not a good thing, but like in retrospect,
of course, it looks like that, but that doesn't mean that's what it is.
Are you saying though that, like, and not to put Louis C.K. I mean, it's a scale of terribleness, but like making someone watch you masturbate and drugging them and raping them are totally on opposite ends, right? But like, how can you say that Bill Cosby work of saying pull your pants up and being this like moral authority,
because I always thought that was goofy. I always thought that was goofy.
Yeah, but don't you see how other people could be like, I just can't watch this anymore because he's such a hypocrite?
That's my point. Yes, if you bought into the character of who he was as a person, then you should throw it all out because you've been duped. I just was never duped.
So is George Carlin a character of a person?
But that's my point. Why? Like, my point is, you don't know anything about him. He wasn't public. Like, he wasn't out there telling you to pull your pants up. All his social commentary was in the context of art. It wasn't in the context of, like, I'm making a speech at the NAACP or some shit. It was all in the concept of art and comedy.
So if it's in the context of art and comedy.
But my point is, like, Carlin was incredibly flawed. Like, he was a drug addict. He was a bad husband, a bad father. He didn't commit any crimes. But my point is, I don't care. I never looked up to him. Like, I love George Carlin. As a comic, I never once thought, like, I want to be like him as a person. Or I bet he's a good person. Like, I don't care. And like I said, it goes the other way. Like, people are like, he seems so nice. He seems so this. Like,
totally.
Like, I never think like, I'm just never that guy that's like, I want to hear their music because they seem nice. I'm like, if it's dog shit music, I don't care. If it's good music, that's good that you're nice too. I guess congrats on being nice. I don't care.
That's cool. And I don't disagree with you there. I guess it's just like, I do notice, it's been called out, the differences between, like, do you know, like, can you name any female like artists or comedians who are like total train wrecks, who are kind of admired for being total train wrecks?
Oh, totally. I mean, the
like
biggest
Schumer?
female comedian that's on right now.
Who?
Schumer, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, her TV show is called Trainwreck. I remember reading this
And in fairness to women, I don't know if she's ever committed a crime, and like clearly what he did is a crime. So I'm not trying to MRA and like false equivocatize, whatever.
Yeah, they would say that.
But it's, again, I have thought of that, of like, this is kind of the offense of the moment, you know, meaning like, again, like, why shouldn't someone like.
It's not an offense at the moment. It's been happening for decades.
But I mean, it's like the hot offense.
Finally have a voice.
But I mean, it's the hot offense to like string people up for. Where my point is, like, I mean, if a celebrity gets caught drunk driving, we don't take everything away from them when they could have killed somebody.
Yeah, this just feels different because this is like a watershed moment for our culture where I feel like women finally, and victims, not just women, are being believed. And there's a New York Times article that's trying to find women who have been assaulted, right? Like,
okay, but my point is, it's still media bullshit, because do you feel more, if you're a woman out there, do you feel more safe now?
Yes.
Because you shouldn't.
Yes,
because
I do.
the only way you will be hashtag
Don't tell me when I should feel safe, Justin. I do feel more safe knowing that it's being.
You've been duped, because the only reason you'll be the only reason
these men in power are being taken down.
Exactly, that's my point. The only reason you'll ever be safe is if someone that is famous diddles you. If you get diddled by your just accountant boyfriend, or you get screamed at by just some guy hanging out at the bus stop on the corner, nothing's going to happen, because it's not hot news. Hot news is, can we attach a name to it? I mean, we've talked about this before. It needs to be resolved in 72 hours. I mean, and that was the Louis thing. Report about it happening, and then 24 hours later, it was his apology, non-apology, and then 24 hours after that, to conclude the cycle, it was he lost everything. And now you won't hear about it again.
I totally disagree with you. I feel better knowing that
if someone famous fucks you against your will,
not it at all, Justin.
It will be covered in 5 years.
Nope. I totally disagree with you. I think that just my own personal experiences and knowing how what's the word I'm looking for? Powerless, I guess. Yeah, powerless. I've felt in similar situations, or in friends telling me about situations of abuse or harassment. And just there is a feeling as a woman that like, well, there are going to be no repercussions. How do I reshape my life so I can avoid this person or avoid this memory? Or how can I help the other girl not be put in this situation with this guy? You know, there has not felt like that you would be believed if you told even police sometimes. Like, look at all the rape kits that are not being tested. Like,
okay, but that's my point.
I feel better knowing that there is a cultural movement to call out this.
But my point is, where in this story are the police believing these women? Where in this story
doesn't matter.
Where in this story are they getting any criminal justice?
Doesn't matter.
No, so things haven't changed.
It is building momentum. I mean, Gal Gadot just said she will not do Wonder Woman if that guy who produces it, who is like a known sexual harasser, isn't allowed on the film. That's huge. You don't think that trickles down into societies? Absolutely, it does.
It's just funny. I mean, you use the term, and it's exactly the same. Trickle down, just like trickle down economics. It doesn't trickle down.
I mean, I know you're like, you think that, but like, I'm already telling you, in me personally, I feel empowered
I'm
by
glad
these
you
stories.
feel better, but the point is, if something happens to you by someone that's not famous, it will be just as hard as it ever was to get justice.
I don't think that's true.
I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm not happy about it. I think I'm right, but I don't feel good about it. I just want you to know that. I'm not arguing from a place of I feel good about it. I'm just saying I'm not optimistic. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not even saying I'm right. I'm just saying I'm not optimistic about it.
I don't think you're right. And I think that this has put a demand on, especially in workplaces, like that you can't act like that anymore.
Who is leading the charge to take these men down? Who? The media. Is there anyone else leading the charge? Any DAs, any cops?
Why do you think the media is covering this,
because there's big celebrities. It's big news because of clicks. That's my point. If you don't have a clickable story about your sexual abuse, no one will care, just like they didn't care last year, 2 years ago, 10 years ago, in the 50s. And I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm saying it's a completely horrific nightmare thing. I agree with you it is. I just don't agree with you that it's changing. Nothing's changed. In fact, it's the same as it ever was, meaning that if it's juicy, the media will cover it. And if you get some help from that coverage, well, that's just a bonus. But we just want that ad dollar. That's all we care about.
God, you are so jaded about journalists.
I'm so jaded about just the truth of it.
I don't agree with you at all. And I think that this is, while it's been very hard to like read and watch and like annoying sometimes to listen to all the hot takes on all of this, I think it has been so empowering. Just feels like the wrong word. It feels validating, and it feels like, listen, millennials have money now, children of our own. You know, I feel like we feel like adults finally, and we're like, wait a minute, so much is happening that is wrong, and that just can't happen anymore. Like, even just personally, like, you know, a teacher in my hometown who was known for hooking up with students just finally got called out for it a year ago and got caught, even though authorities in the school knew about it 10 years ago. And I really feel like that big push is coming from people of my generation who are now like 10 years older. Like, wait, what the fuck? We're the adults now. This can't happen anymore.
I understand the push, but you make that push and it's not interesting. It ends at the push. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. I mean, my point is why do
you... It will continuously be interesting if there are women journalists, if there are people who are in charge of the media who think that these are important stories, and they are.
Do you think it's a coincidence that this story broke the day his movie was set to premiere in New York? Do you think that's a coincidence?
No. Newspeg.
Exactly. That's the whole point.
No,
the point was like,
that's
hey,
not for
ladies,
media dollars,
sorry
Justin,
about
that's
your
a journalism
sorry
term.
about
you
your
don't even know
bodies,
what that
lady.
Word is.
Sorry. Yeah, it's when you put on a strap on and fuck the news. No, I'm saying that that's what the media tells women. The women they pretend to care about, they say, sorry about your bodies and your wrongful touchings and your wrongful viewings and all the pain you go through. But if you could really wait till he gets a little more famous, if you could really wait till his premiere date, we can maybe try to help you then. But until then, we don't really care about you. We just kind of care about making sure Budweiser gets 10 million views so they keep putting the lights on.
It's not true at all. It's
not untrue.
It's not true.
It's not untrue.
Justin, the Harvey Weinstein story, journalists have chased that story for a decade now. Finally, women felt comfortable enough, victims felt like they would be believed enough to put their name on the record. You were 75% believing of these rumors about Louis C.K. until a name was put to it. As a journalist, like, you cannot run that story until you get a name. Why do you think these women finally felt comfortable enough to say, yes, Louis C.K. made me watch him masturbate?
That's my point.
It's because the Harvey Weinstein story broke, and they're starting to feel like they will be listened to.
That's my point. Your timeline is what's Fantasyland. What's Fantasyland is your timeline. I think what happened was there's these rumors going around. Anyone could have followed up on those rumors and got names and got a story and did all the stuff the New York Times did. Why did they not? I don't know. No one's talking about Hollywood abuse, by men. I don't think that's a really sexy story. Let's not do it.
Your whole point is that it's celebrity. Celebrity was happening 5 years ago. They would have done it 5 years ago if you're the way you think it's
not sexual assaults by men in power. That's what's hot right now. And so the media will help you if you fit into that mold.
Oh.
This isn't a condemnation of women. It's condemnation of the media.
I know, and I think you're wrong. I think you're condemning them.
I wish I was.
wrongly.
I wish I was. I wish I was.
No.
I have a daughter. I wish I was.
No, I think you're totally wrong on this.
Okay. I mean, welcome to FemComPod. Well, the last thing I'll say, I just wanted to touch on this, and then we can move on, but because it just tied into the thing, like the Cosby thing is like in attaching, like I understand, like I said, I'm not ignorant to these things. Like I think we're having a spirited debate, but I think we're attacking branch issues and not root issues. Sure. I think on the root issues we agree, right? He 100% did it. We came on knowing he did it around the same time, maybe with like a 10 to 15% difference in surety, but we were both on board with him doing it at the same time. We're both conflicted about what that means for his art, but we both agree there should be punishment. We both think what he did was wrong. We both believe the women. And we both think that women should be protected more in regards to sexual assault or any sort of sexual harassment. I think we both agree with that. You're a feminist. I'm an ally. I think we're doing the work. And I understand why it's harder with CK, because he, quote unquote, helped women and then his crimes were directly against women. So it's harder to reconcile those things. But I look at someone like a Cosby and I just think not about what he said. Again, just about the art. Like, again, everyone talks about like a black doctor and a black lawyer having kids in a nice house on TV in a sitcom was important when it happened. And so to me, it's like, I think someone can want to facilitate advancement of their race while also disrespecting women to a violent degree. So my point is, it's like that Chappelle joke. I think that's why that Chappelle joke was so good about the superhero, that he saves lives, but he also rapes a little. And like he had that joke in his special, and it was kind of like, it was this whole, he did this big callback to it, but it was basically kind of like Cosby. Like, he did all these great things for black people.
So he's not a superhero.
But he raped a little bit. But his joke is like the idea of like, what if there's this superhero that saved lives, but he had to like rape a little bit to get his like superpowers? You
think that's okay? I don't get it.
No,
I don't understand.
The joke is not that it's okay per se, but that it's like, it's tough to deal with that. And I think to me that was him examining the whole artist separation thing. And that's my point, is like, we can send, like, my point is Cosby committed crimes. We can send him to jail. We can civilly sue him. We can take away his income because someone that does that doesn't deserve income. They don't deserve to be rewarded. I agree with that. But we can't take away the good things he did. And my point is that most people have good and bad, and they can really swing. You know, it can be a little good and a lot of bad, or it can be a lot of good, but the bad you do is real bad. It's not just fucking road rage. It's rape or whatever. I'm saying those levels, those pie charts are different in everybody, different in every situation. But I think people can do good things and bad things, and they should still be punished for their bad. I don't think the good erases the bad.
Raping is,
I'm not saying the good erases the bad. I'm just saying the good is the good and the bad is the bad. That's the best way to put it. It's not about erasure. I'm just saying, though, I just don't know why. I think that Louis C.K. can give opportunities to women not to cover his tracks. I think he can do it because he genuinely wants to help them. And then I think he can have this sexual side that goes, I want to hurt them sexually. But once I've come and I'm not thinking about sex, I want to help them career-wise. And my point is, no, of course that does not erase the things he did. And it doesn't mean his punishment for those things should be any less. Not at all. But that's when people say, how can you watch that? Well, because that is this and that is that. And that should be handled as that is handled, and this should be handled as this is handled. And if it's a comedy show and it's funny, I'll laugh at it. And if it's a rape and it's proven, I'll send him to jail. And I don't know how those can't exist in other people. And I think it's because they buy into liking a person and that being a prerequisite for liking the art. And like I said, if you're older than 12, I think that's silly.
Okay, cool. Is that your... I have final thoughts.
Yeah, you can final
Okay.
thought now.
So
Don't say it like that.
I'm just making sure. I just want to know I don't want to be interrupted.
That still might happen.
Okay, I don't disagree with you that this is a complicated conversation that we're having, right? And like what I've struggled with personally is like, no, I feel like fuck Bill Cosby. I don't care about any of his superhero acts because what he did is...
To be honest, real quick,
The
I kind of
worst.
butchered the joke a little.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
Well, it's a joke that lasts literally the whole special. Like, he makes this superhero joke, and then he does a callback to Cosby, like, at the end. It's fucking genius.
It's good.
Just
Yeah.
from a technical level. So it's not like I butchered it because I'm not funny.
I
It was
guess
just
I'm
a hard
saying
joke to summarize.
there are very complicated, and watching the discussion about Louis C.K. and the feminist publications and women I know, there's been a lot of like, boy, bye, Louis C.K.'s out. And I totally get that reaction. I don't think it's fair because I think this is a more complicated discussion. And honestly, yes, I think what he did was fucked up, and we all see, I have traces of those kinds of stories in my life. All of us women do, right? Hashtag me too. There is a difference between his masturbating in front of someone and drugging someone and raping them by Bill Cosby, right? Here's where I think the thing with feminism is when I get upset with feminists, I always see why it's happening, and that I just have so much empathy for it, because I think that this rage where it's like, well, get the fuck out. Get out. You're not allowed here anymore. Like, you can't, you know what I mean, without seeing the whole human, comes from the fact that, like, that's how we feel we are treated. We feel very one-dimensionalized. It feels like you have to sort of maintain a certain veneer, or if you're too much of one thing, that's what you become. Whereas I think men, especially celebrity men, are sort of afforded this more multidimensional scope of their lives, and like, oh, he made mistakes, but look at his genius artwork. Whereas I once read a really interesting comparison of the way the media covered Kurt Cobain's overdose death and Amy Winehouse's overdose death. Now, Amy Winehouse, whatever you think about her music, like, she's didn't institute a whole new genre of music like grunge, right? But like, he was heralded as this hero who just had, just artistic demons and blah, 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 and like, hers was very sort of one-sided reporting on her alcoholism and how it destroyed her. And she was just the language that was used was just so different from like mythologizing him, and then her sort of being, I mean, look at Whitney Houston, just a drug addict, nobody by the end, right? Like, the discussion of it, I think, is very...
She kind of was, though.
Totally, but like...
I think Bobby Brown would have got the same coverage.
Anyway, so...
Just for some reason, you can't kill Bobby
they're
Brown.
black.
That's probably fair.
They are another, and white men are afforded a whole a whole dynamic scope of a personhood.
They're just because
right?
they're so tight.
Oh, jeez. But like, so I think that is where a lot of this anger is coming from, where it's like, get out. You're not here anymore. We're not allowed to be multidimensional people. You made one fuck up. You get out.
That's fair. That's a fair point for sure.
And that's something that I wish we could solve, because it's like, that's not fair when it's done to us. I don't know if it's fair here. I don't know. I get it.
But
I understand why we want him out.
But that's the point. I mean, that's again, if we could like kind of come back, like, I thought it was fun what we did in the first topic, the appendix topic, or what do you call it? No, what's the first
prelogue?
Part of a prelogue? Our prelogue topic. About like why we fight, but why we love, and that's my point. Is like, even though we fight, like, that's why I love you, because I think you're so smart and so whatever. And my point is I don't mind boy bye. I don't mind anger. I think that all good, intelligent discussions start from anger. I mean, that's how we get to where we are. But my point is, but the action needs to be rooted in reason. And so that's kind of my point, is where is the voice that says what you just said? Where is the voice that says, look, I know why you're mad, but true equality is letting men be multidimensional and working to get us also multidimensional instead of bringing men down to our level, and now we're both equal in the basement. let's
right.
move up.
Again, there is a difference between Harvey Weinstein and Louis C.K.
Totally.
Like, I'm not. I just.
No, I understand.
This
I
is
don't
why
think
it's
anyone
so,
doubts that.
I know, but this is again why it's so heavy, because it's like, oh my God, I'm not apologizing for what he did. I am not defending what he did.
I don't think anyone thinks you are. That's my point.
There are.
Okay, but my point is, but fuck them. That's my point. Fuck them.
Justin, that's why I'm here saying this.
Okay,
but, like,
that's my point. But you're not. Now you're backing off it.
I'm
Don't
not
back
backing
off
of it.
But that's why. But that's why the dark side wins.
God.
Is because people
I'm allowed
that have.
to say something you disagree with. And
I'm not saying it's not about you
disagreeing.
It's like people that don't agree with you don't deserve your explanation.
Listen, I guess I didn't want to be interrupted for this reason. Like
I didn't interrupt you. We started a new talk.
I think that there is. How do we move these conversations forward? Again, like I said, I disagree with you. I think it's creating a movement in women and voices for women that we've never had before. It's exciting and it's great. We cannot now become what's the quote? Using the tools of the master's house. We cannot become now we can't do.
But that is happening.
I think you got to give it some time. There's anger right now.
I don't think that's wise. Because then you give it time and then it just is. It's tough to put the toothpaste back in the tube. And that's my point, is like, that's what scares me. It doesn't scare me. What scares me is that those people, and it's men and women, mostly it's men just trying to be like, I'm good, but they're still saying it. And the men and the women that just speak with anger, they are dominating the conversation. There's no, let them be angry. They'll figure it out. They're angry. They're mean people, and they're not usually very intelligent. And my point is intelligent people like you that have the right point, that say justice is right. Dispensing justice is fair. Let's do that. But also let's elevate women instead of bringing down men. Because if we bring down men, then we're both in the basement together, and that's not the equality I want. I want the equality of a spot at the higher table, not a new table at the bottom where everyone sits. Let me just finish. And I'm just saying, what scares me the most, there's always going to be dumb, angry, yelling idiots on left, on the right, about any issue. What scares me as a liberal is that smart people like you with good points and reasoned views have to always say, I get it, guys, or you just need some time to settle. And they don't, and they will steal the conversation, and you know where you'll be thrown. You'll be that. You'll be, she's just one of those MRA women, Jackie Manti. She's just one of those MRA rape apologists. I mean, you know how easy it is to get slapped with the rape apologist sticker now? You could get that. And instead of being like, instead of trying to kind of placate them so you don't, and then just sneak in your well-reasoned opinions, you should be going at them too.
I get it. I get what you're saying, but like, what you don't understand is something that I do about this pain, where that's coming from, and that deserves some room to breathe.
Okay, but my point is, you have that pain in you, don't you?
Yeah.
And you're still able to say what you say. So it's not an excuse. And it's an excuse of the dumb and the weak.
Okay, well then, so to move it forward, instead of calling them dumb, because I do not think they're dumb and weak. I think they're survivors, Justin, and they're fucking mad. Shut up. We're all survivors. We're all fucking surviving. Stop. First thing, stop making generalizations, right? I was just telling you, I saw GQ posted an article on Facebook today that said, I'm going to butcher it, but basically the headline was, why are all men in comedy terrible? And it was like, not tongue in cheek. It was like, hey, this industry has no HR department. There's alcoholism and alcoholics and drugs, and, men are in charge. There's more men than women in the same. It just totally generalized all men in comedy. I find that fucking offensive. My husband's in comedy. He's not a monster. Like, and I think
not in that way.
Well, and I just think those broad brushstroke generalizations are damning. And that's what we're fighting against. It's what we don't want to be done to have done to us. And it really is like a fight. It's like, how do you rise above and not stoop to that level? Do not generalize men. I don't think men are the problem. I think a toxic masculinity culture is our problem. It's not men. How do men learn to act like that? With as much, so fucking, talking about my own fucking rape and painful experiences I had growing up with I wasn't molestation implies it's a family member, but like by a classmate, like, so just to be clear, like, none of that. But like, you know, all these weird sexual experiences where someone forced themselves onto me and you don't really know how to talk about it as women. Or what's even more telling now as an adult is that the fact that so many of us girls knew about this one classmate doing things, but we knew enough at 15 not to tell a fucking adult because nothing good was going to happen. That's a problem.
Exactly.
Like
that's my point. Is that the problem, or is it?
But my point, what I was getting at was that.
But isn't that the problem? To me, Harvey Weinstein's not the problem. He's the result of the problem.
Right, but how do we change the problem?
I don't know, but my point is, what we do is we fire him and we go like, problem solved. Hollywood's cleaned up. And it's like Hollywood's not the problem.
No, you've nailed it on the head before. Is totally re-altering our sexual education system. In this fucking country.
I mean, I think that's at least part of it.
About science.
I don't think it's a silver bullet, but that's.
No, but
I think
that's
it's
a huge
big
part of it. And I talked about it here on this podcast that I think there needs to be a curriculum for girls about what being a feminist is. Like, it's more than just something you buy and like have a cute little fight the patriarchy kitten calendar. Like, what does that mean?
Can I tell you something product wise that I thought?
Were you going to buy me that for Christmas? Because I totally want it.
No, it's tell me if this annoys you a little bit. This woman, I just watched an episode of Shark Tank, and this woman was on it, and she said, she's like, her whole thing was she wanted to teach girls how to code. And they have all these kind of like,
awesome.
You have all these toys now that are like drones and robots, and they're not, girly enough. So she wanted something like a toy girls would be interested in that also had like a coding element. Which I think is fine. Because if a girl is into drones and robots, there's available.
Or a boy was into a girly thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
Shut up. Continue. Finish your story.
Though. No.
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. See, that's why.
No, continue because I want to make my point and move on.
But anyway, so it was basically just this dial you put on a Segway and you could program the Segway. It was kind of a cool idea. I don't remember if she got an investor or not. But the point is, the name of the product was Smart Girls, and it was spelled smart
with a G or a Z.
GURLZ. And I was like, if your demo is girls that are into coding, why use like the Bratz style spelling? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
we're also grammar nerds. We want it spelled correctly.
I'm not gonna see, but right? Isn't that kind of weird? Like,
oh, they're just selling it.
I know, but it still seemed kind of gross to me.
I think
like, so girls can code, but they can't do everything right because they're still girls. They're still gonna want to spell things with Z's.
That's not
and
it. You know what's gross about it is the like, but we're girls. Like,
I guess it was more like, just the spelling, and because I don't mind spell Bratz with a Z or market it, but like
but when it's about science and coding, and like about intelligence,
because to me that is like a soft.
Also, why's it gotta be a girl? Like there might be boys who want to program.
Well, now we're getting on a whole separate topic, but the point is, it's like to me that's how we get to where we are. Now this is for sure an exaggeration, but it is something that does annoy me because I do just feel. This is how we get like the creationist museum. It's like just enough science to make your point and then a lot of bullshit. And I feel like that's kind of products like this. Like, look, if you want to code, you need to know how to spell girls too. If you want to be smart, you got to be smart. You can't be like, you can't pull from this study to prove global warming's not right, even though 99% of scientists believe it or whatever. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's kind of like this product. It's just like, if you're going to be smart, just be smart. If you want to be a girl that's codes when all the other girls are playing hopscotch, you should also want a product where the letters are spelled right. And you as a product developer, if you really want to be a service to that demo of girls, you should spell the goddamn thing right.
Yeah, totally. They needed a better strategy team on that copywriting naming team. Hello.
Plus, you can still make it cute. That's my whole point. I'm not against the femininity at all. Call it cute IQ. Or something like that.
Right.
Spelled right.
Look at you, little copywriter. Yeah.
Because the name of their program was called, shit. They had like proprietary software that they used to program it. It's called something like Sugar Code. Maybe something like that. It was spelled right. And it had like a cutesy name. Like, it's Sugar. I think it was Sugar Code. Something like that.
Sure.
And it was spelled right. So I'm like, yeah, make it cutesy. But don't make this thing like, you're a nerd, but you don't have to be a nerd. It's like, no, I want my nerds to be nerds. If you're a doctor, I want you to know science. I don't want you to be like, I'm a doctor, but I also believe in crystals.
That sort of
that's what we're producing with
the whole
these
fight
toys.
is against like, oh, well, girls, it's not cute when you're smart. Like,
Right.
you would be directly flying in the face of that, of like, yeah, no, it's cool to be smart, and we can be girly with it too. Yeah.
That's why I would rather like
you can be both.
I would rather. That's why I'd rather, and I know it's a boy, but I would rather like an Elon Musk, where it's like, I'm just a genius, and that's what makes me fucking cool. Instead of like, well, you're a genius, but you can spell words cutesy. It's like, no, that's how we get the science of creationism. Is it's just someone going like, it's science, but it's like with my spin on it, Christians, don't worry. The same way it's like, it's coding, but it's with a cute skirt
I guess
on
that's
it,
what
boys.
I mean. Yeah, like
it's
that
just,
you're still that like double like life that you have to lead as a girl, whereas like boys can be multifaceted and be like, no, I'm just smart, but also that doesn't negate all the rest of my personhood, right? Where like girls, well, I need to prove that I'm all of these things at once, and like I can be all the things at once. So here I'm a smart girl. Okay, so my just final point is like, in addition to the sex ed, like,
can I do a final point?
No, you have had so many points. It's my topic. I'm the host. So I would love to see like a curriculum for high school girls about what feminism is. What is the line of like, reading that New York Times article, it just felt so familiar. Just like, the women who were like, we were like screaming and laughing because we didn't know what to do, and then we just left, and then like, well, I didn't want to get off the phone because it's awkward. Women do this. I just wrote something on Mildly Depressed about how, like, I remember plug mildlydepressed.com. An Uber driver took me home, and he started telling me about his erotica fiction that he writes. It's the middle of the night. I don't know where I am really. Like, I'm just got in this stranger's car. Don't know how the lock system. Like, he totally inappropriate. Should not have been talking about this stuff about his weird ass erotica. Telling me.
What'd you star rate him?
Hold on, I'll get there. So, but I was really shocked in my reaction. Instead of being like, fuck you, like, let me out of the car, like, this is so inappropriate, I can't believe you're talking, like, that you're in control of the situation, like, this feels predatory that you're telling me sexual fantasies while you're driving me home. That is not, I went into this like total survival mode, and it's what women do and what we've been taught to do. The easiest way for me to survive in that situation is to flatter him and placate him so I get home and can get out of the car. So I was like, oh, interesting. Not like totally like, ooh, tell me more. Like, enough. There's this line that I immediately knew how to walk on, where I'm like, do not encourage him. You're not saying like, ooh, I want you to try it on me. Like, you can't go too far, but you also cannot like step on him because he's in control. He's in charge. And to survive this, I mean, I don't, those are big words. I don't know what he maybe was just a nerd telling me, trying to talk about his stuff. But like,
right.
still,
Did he have a ponytail?
I don't remember, Justin. But still,
if it felt,
it felt very threatening. Okay. And so as soon as I got out of the car, I was like, fuck that. Like, 1 star, reported him. But like, in the moment, I didn't even think to stop the car. It's just like, oh, interesting. And so I love writing too, trying to like keep the conversation nice and talk. That guy has no idea that he made me super uncomfortable. And then so like, it's just it's relatable, where it's like, why didn't you just leave the room? Why didn't you just leave the car? Why didn't you do all these things? It's like, there is such a conversation that we don't have as women with each other and with the world about like surviving these situations. And that's really sort of where your head goes. Like, if someone is on the other line of the phone, it's fucking awkward. Okay, what are you going to do? Oh, okay, just listen, and then like hang up, and you're like, that was fucking weird. I get it. I so get it. And like, if we can talk about beyond, like, I feel like my feminist classes and like studies and groups, we never really had those kinds of conversations about real world applications of feminism and how to stand up for ourselves, what to do in that situation. Because I'm not saying I did the wrong thing in that situation. Right. I was trying to survive, right? But like, how do I then deal with the guilt and shame of like, why didn't you say something to that guy? Like, because I was in his car. I was locked in his car. Like, why do I have to carry the brunt of this? Like things where we talk about that in a more than just a think piece kind of way.
No, that's fair. I'd be for that class. I mean, we got Grubhub now. Why do we need home ec still?
Totally.
Plug in the feminism class there.
I don't know. I learned how to tie a tie in home ec and sign a check. Oh, no, I guess I learned how to sign a check a lot
How to
earlier.
sign a check? You sign on a line. How do you have to learn that?
No, listen, there are many elements to a check that are complicated, but I learned that in grade school. I
maybe for a
remember
girl.
directly learning about it. I'm a smart girls, thank you.
All
right, let's move on. Topic
real
two.
quick. Well, I was just going to say, like, yeah.
Can't a woman have the last word?
No, you know what? It's whoever's topic it is, the other person's supposed to have the last word.
All right.
Just so you know.
So it's my topic, your topic.
I was just gonna say that I agree with you, but the reason I to my original point is like, yeah, that story is horrific, but I mean, the needle hasn't moved. It's just he's not famous, so no one would care. But if he was famous,
Uber cares.
Do you think that guy got fired?
Probably got a strongly worded email.
Probably. Anyways, the last thing I want to say, and this is about Cosby again, but again, you could easily, I know we're talking about CK, but it's the same. I could say that it would be the same thing. There's differences in influence and what I like about them and what I don't like, but this is going to ring the same. It's just something I think about more with Cosby, but it would be the same. And I think it would apply to other people who are filmmakers, and the filmmakers they have problems with, and whatever, musicians. And I used to like R. Kelly, and now I don't know. Mm-hmm. So it could apply. Not only does it apply to me for multiple artists, but it could apply to multiple people for multiple different artists in multiple different disciplines. And the thing I always say is too about not wanting to just erase someone it's about like not wanting to blackball them from the zeitgeist. I don't care about blackballing them from the industry so they can't profit once they've committed a crime. I'm talking about this thing about blackballing people from the zeitgeist. Like we just erase what they did, what they're doing, what they would do, their name. And I just think about someone like Cosby, and it's like I took in so much Cosby before even I heard rumors. Because I mean, I'm into Cosby when I'm in middle school, high school. Not only do I not think there's rumors circulating at that point, but definitely not to a child, and definitely now without the internet too. When I was a child and all that shit. Oh, no internet was a child. I was so old. But to me, that's kind of, and this isn't a defense of Cosby, but the defense of art from artists. It's like, I like Cosby as a comic. I did. We can even say it like that to make it cleaner. I did like him as a comic. And I have things in my act, like stylistic choices, that I directly take from him. Now, I put my own spin on them. I combine them with like 5 other stylistic choices. Like, it's a big mishmash of a lot of my own stuff, about 80 different comics. So it's not like there's this one thing I do that he used to do, but just he's influenced things I do. And it's like you said, I have not raped anybody yet. I'm not a monster.
Yet. Oh my gosh.
I am not a monster.
Say I have not and will not rape someone.
I'm trying my hardest not to. But I'm a man, and it's in me. No. And
you're in comedy, and all men in comedy are terrible.
Exactly.
Hashtag
GQ said it, so you know it's true. There's 6 ways to get flatter abs worked, so I'm guessing this is also true. No fake news there. So my point is my point is that comedy is imprinted on my comedy, and I'm not a monster. And my point is, like, if there's someone out there who likes me, who is influenced by me, who finds me interesting, finds me entertaining, or anything, and I would say that the thing you're drawing inspiration from, the thing you're drawing entertainment from, the thing you're drawing inspiration from, whatever, is connected back to Bill Cosby. And you shouldn't feel gross about that, because I don't. But it doesn't mean we can't get together over a beer and be like, that motherfucker should be in jail. What he did is gross. What he did is criminal. And we should work for a society where those things can't happen. Or if they do, the person should be able to get help. Right? That's my point about, I don't think it's that hard for those two things to exist.
Yeah.
And that's my point. Like,
what's part of a bigger conversation I think is happening all over, right? With the, like, how can we still love America even though it was built on genocide and the backs of people? Word. I'm just saying, I'm adding to your conversation. You do this.
So that's my point, is like, I just think that you can't erase from the zeitgeist. And I think blackballing someone is okay if we're doing it as a form of punishment. But if we're doing it as some sort of grandstanding, it's not only not possible, but it's flawed in a lot of ways. And that's the point. It's like that Cosby influence, it's just in society. It's in people you like. I think probably all comics you like. probably were influenced by him, and you shouldn't feel gross about that. And I'm sure they don't. And it doesn't mean you can't also feel like this guy is gross. This guy should be in jail, and we should make society better for people that are affected, like the women were affected by him, or hopefully make it happen to women less. I think those thoughts can all exist in a person, and you shouldn't feel too bad about those thoughts. Because to me, like I said, just guilt and just erasing a singular person from the zeitgeist, it doesn't help the lady who had a weird interaction with her Uber driver. It just means that we don't see Bill Cosby anymore. And that's a tree. It's not or it's a branch. It's not a root. It's all, and that's why I get annoyed with the media and society. It's all branch, no root. It's always branch. And now in internet media, it's a 72. If we can't prune this branch in 72 hours, well, it's just going to stay on the tree. So,
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff.